of you, my friends. Welcome back. I hope you guys have revised what I have discussed in the previous session. So, let me give you a brief about what all I have discussed in the previous two sessions of process costing, wherein process costing is a method of costing used by those companies wherein the raw material or input has to pass through two or more than two processes before being converted into final product. Thereafter, we discuss the basic process account. Thereafter, we discuss normal loss, that is the loss that is inherent in nature and bound to happen and can be predicted by management is normal loss. When talking about the value of normal loss, the value of normal loss is absorbed by good units. Any amount realized on sale of normal loss will be shown on the credit side of process account. And yes, it is to be deducted from the process cost to calculate the cost per unit of the process. Thereafter, we discussed abnormal loss, that is the loss in excess of normal loss is abnormal loss. It cannot be predicted, and further the value of abnormal loss will be equal to the value of good units. It is to be shown in credit side of process account and thereafter transferred to costing P&L. So in normal loss, the product cost will be inflated. That is, it is absorbed by good units. But in abnormal loss, whatever the value of abnormal loss is, it is to be transferred to costing P&L. Thereafter, we discussed abnormal gain, that is when the actual production exceeds the expected production, it is abnormal gain. Again, it is to be shown in the debit side of process account and thereafter transferred to costing P&L. Further, we discussed that what if in case if each process is treated as a separate profit center and the output of a particular process is transferred to the next process at cost plus profit. So how to deal with that situation, that also we have discussed in a question. Thereafter, we started with the most important part of the chapter, that is work in progress, wherein we discuss what is work in progress, that is the units that are introduced in the process but remain unfinished by year end is what we call as work in progress. When talking about how to value work in progress, that is the major task. So when talking about the valuation of work in progress, we use the concept of equivalent production and thereafter we discuss the concept of equivalent production. So I hope you guys are thorough with what I have discussed. Anyone having any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Good morning, Priyanshi. Good morning, Almas. Good morning, Harshita. Good morning, Buma. Anyone having any doubts or queries? I request you guys to please download the material what I have provided because I'll be discussing the question from my material. The similar questions are not there in the study material, so please refer example number 5, equal and basic. But before this, I'll be giving you a brief about one more point, that is work in progress, how to deal with work in progress. So just anyone having any doubts, then you guys can please post, else we'll start with the next part, that is when opening work in progress is given in the question. So now let's start. Let me discuss this concept again with the help of a small example. Let's say my opening work in progress is 2000 units. See, till now in equivalent production or in work in progress, opening work in progress was not given. We have discussed a very basic question wherein we were making input, few units we were transferring it to the next process and balance units were work in progress. But now, next case, when opening work in progress is given in the question, how to deal with it. So let's say my opening work in progress is 2000 units. Further, I made an input during the year, it is 10,000 units. So total we have 12,000 units that were processed during the year. Now, out of these 12,000 units, let's say 8,000 units were finished and transferred to the next process. And remaining 4,000 units is which we can say closing work in progress. Now, the point is, these 8,000 units can be from 2,000 units also, and few from inputs. Apart from this, it can be entirely from the inputs that are made during the year. In fact, both these units have different costs. That is, the opening work in progress have different costs. Further, the inputs also have different costs. Now, the point is, ये जो 8,000 units transfer किए, ये 4,000 units transfer किए, उसको value कैसे करें? So ICAI has suggested two approaches. So either these 8,000 units and 4,000 can be valued as per FIFO method, or it can be valued as per weighted average method. FIFO, the name itself says it is first in, first out. So when talking about the valuation of these 8,000 units, that is units transferred, we can say if we are applying FIFO method, 2,000 units will be from opening work in progress, and remaining 6,000 will be from the inputs that are made during the year. I repeat again, ये जो 8,000 units हमने transfer किए हैं, the name itself says first in, first out. So ये 8,000 units किस में से होंगे? 2,000 तो opening work in progress में से होंगे, और 6,000 जो होंगे वो कहां से होंगे? The inputs that are made during the year. When talking about these 4,000 units that are still in process, since these units are fully absorbed in the units transferred, so these 4,000 units will be from the inputs made during the year. So this is FIFO method. Further, when talking about the weighted average method, we'll be taking the weighted average cost of these 2,000 units and 10,000 units. I'll be discussing this with the help of a practical question. So if you guys have any doubts or queries till now, you guys can please post. Further, I request you guys to please copy this example or explanation. Good morning, Samohini. Good morning, Mr. Mujahid. So now let's start with a question wherein opening work in progress is also given. So I request you guys to please refer example number 5 from my material. So let's start with example number 5, that is equivalent basic. Giving you a minute time to please download the material or open the material. So let's start with example number 5, that is equivalent basic. Following information is available regarding process A for the month of January 2020. So the information is given for process A for the month of January 2020, wherein units in process it on 1st January is 4,000 units, and further the percentage of completion is also given, that is material 100% complete, labor and overheads are 25% complete. So this is opening work in progress, और उसमें क्या बता रहे हैं कि these are 4,000 units, उस पे 100% काम last year December में हो गया है in respect of material, but labor and overheads work was done only up till 25% in the last year. So in the current year, the balance work will be finished. Further, the new units introduced are 16,000. Units completed were 14,000 and 6,000 units are still in process at the year end. And when talking about the work done during the year on these 6,000 units, it is material 100% and labor and overheads are 33.33% complete. So when talking about the closing work in progress, it represents the work that is done during the current month or current year. But when talking about the percentage of the work that is completed in opening work in progress, it represents the work that is done in the previous month or in the previous year. So these 2 points are the key. I repeat again, when talking about, I'm just writing this for your explanation because most of the students ये गलती करते हैं that percentage of work completed represent in respect of opening work in progress, it means the work done in the previous year. And when talking about the work closing work in progress, it represents the work done during the year. Just trying to make the things as easy as possible. So I request you guys to please copy this part because previous batches में भी कई बार students को problem आती है सर ऐसा क्यों किया वैसा क्यों किया. So when talking about the opening work in progress, the percentage of work completed means कि इतना % काम पिछले साल ही हो गया. So balance काम हमें इस साल करना है. But when talking about closing work in progress, the work completed represents the work done during the year. Those who want can please copy this part. Let's proceed further. Further, the cost records for the opening work in progress is given, that is, when talking about the total value of opening work in progress, it is 8,000. Separate cost is given for material, labor, and overheads. Further, during the year, the cost of material, labor, and overheads are given, and the total cost is given. You are required to prepare a statement of equivalent production, statement showing cost for each element, that is material, labor, and overheads. Further, statement of apportionment of cost, that is how the cost will be apportioned among the units transferred and the closing work in progress, and process cost account for process A using both FIFO method and weighted average method. So without wasting time, we'll start with this part now. So let's prepare process A account. So when talking about opening work in progress, it is 4,000 units and the cost is 8,000. Further, the inputs, that is material, when talking about the number of units, it is 16,000. And when talking about the value of material, it is 25,600. When talking about the labor cost, it is 15,000. And overheads are also. So we have the total cost also. That is 8,000, 25,600. So this is 63,600. The units that are transferred to the next process, let's say process B, it is given that 14,000 units were transferred to the next process and 6,000 units are still in progress. We call it as by closing work in progress. So now we need to calculate the value, that is we need to distribute this total cost of 63,600 among these two, that is the units that are transferred to the next process and closing work in progress. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your queries. Now, the point is the cost can be distributed among these two, either using FIFO method or weighted average method. So we'll be discussing both the methods one by one. So let's start with FIFO method first. We'll prepare statement of equivalent production using FIFO method. Particulars, total, says the percentage of completion of material, labor and overheads is different. So we will calculate separate equivalent units for material and labor and overheads. That is percentage of completion and number of units, percentage of completion and number of units. So now let's start with FIFO method. Now when talking about the units that are transferred, total units transferred are 14,000. Since we are applying FIFO method, so 4,000 units will be from opening work in progress. and remaining 10,000 units will be from the inputs that are made during the year. I hope this part is clear to all. So, when talking about units transferred, four thousand units will be from the opening work in progress. Now, these 4,000 units are not 100% processed this year. कुछ परसेंट काम पिछले साल खत्म हो गया था. कितना completed था? See, that is the work that is done in the previous year or previous month, whatever it is. It is given that this much work is already completed. That is 100% in respect of material and 25% in case of labor and overheads. So, in this statement is prepared in the current year. So, in this statement, we will be considering only the work that is completed during the year. So, 100% work was already done in respect of material and labor in the previous month. So, in this month, nothing is done. Further, the percentage of work that is completed in respect of labor and overhead is 25%. So, the balance work that is completed during this month is 75%. जो बैलेंस काम हम लोगों ने इस साल किया वो 75% था, that is 3,000 units. So this is all what about 4,000 units. Now once this much work is done, these units will be 100% processed now. Thereafter balance, that is units started and completed. 10,000 units, 100% complete, 10,000. Because these units are 100% processed during the year only, so 10,000. So the story of units that are transferred is complete now. So 14,000 units were transferred and these are the equivalent number of units for 14,000 if we are applying FIFO method. Now, when talking about closing work in progress, there are 6,000 units and the work that is completed represents the work that is done during the year. So herein, in respect of closing work in progress, 100%. See, these 6,000 units are from what? The inputs that are made during the year. That is 16,000 units. So 100% work was done in respect of material 6,000 and 33.33% work was done. So this will be 2,000. So when talking about the equivalent number of units, this will be 16,000 and this will be 15,000. So anyone having any doubts in this statement, then you guys can please post your queries. So yes, Kaushik, Ananya, Almas, Nikhil, Priyanshi, anyone having any doubts? Kirti, Mahalakshmi, Sabha Shakil, Mr. Bharat, Mr. Gupta, Ramesh Chandra, Jayendra, Kaushik, Sneha, Bhuma, Miss Tanmoji, Priyanka Tak, Priyanshi Tak, sorry. See, I just want everyone to be thorough with each and every concept of this process costing. So that's why I'm asking individually to everyone. Anyone having any doubts? Samohini, any doubts? Almas, Prem Kumar, Sunil Kumar, Neeraj Patel. Anyone having any doubts? Miss Dharani. See, examiner do ask question frequently on this part. Okay, great. So we are done with the preparation of statement of equivalent production. Now we have got the equivalent number of units. Now next step, what we do follow, we do calculate the cost per unit. So let's calculate the cost per unit. So here and see what's the language the question is using. No Samohini. So check the language of the question. Statement showing cost for each element. So let's prepare the statement showing cost for each element. Statement showing cost for each element. So now let's calculate the cost per unit. So let's start with material first. Now see, this statement represents what? The work that is completed during the year. Again, I repeat, this statement represents what? The statement represents the work completed during the year. These 16,000 are the equivalent number of units for this year. This statement represents the work that is completed during the year. So to calculate the cost per unit, we will take the current year cost only. So herein, my material cost is 25,600 and the number of units are how much? 16,000. When talking about labor cost, my labor cost is how much? 15,000. And the equivalent number of units are how much? 15,000. My overhead cost is how much? Again 15,000. And this is also 15,000, equivalent number of units. So this will be 1. This will be 1. And this will be 1.6. So this is the cost per unit of the units that are 100% processed. So now we have got the cost per unit. Now let's prepare the statement. See, at the end of the day, we need to apportion these 63,600 among these two. So that's why we are doing all this exercise. So now let's apportion the cost. Statement showing apportionment of cost. So now, we have to identify the cost of the units that are transferred to the next process and closing work in progress. So let's calculate the value of units transferred first. Now we are using FIFO method. So when talking about units transferred, it means what these units transferred here in C. 4,000 units were from opening work in progress and 10,000 units were from the inputs that are made during the year. So let's start with the calculation of cost of units transferred. So we will first take opening work in progress. Now, ये जो 4,000 यूनिट्स थे ओपनिंग वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस में, इसमें से कुछ काम जो है पिछले साल कंप्लीट किया और कुछ काम इस साल कंप्लीट किया. So we will be taking the total cost. So when talking about opening work in progress, work completed in the previous year, when talking about the cost for the same, it is given that the value of opening work in progress is how much? 8,000. And work completed in the current year. Work completed in current year. When talking about the work that is completed in the current year, see, here it is. In respect of material, nothing is done in the current year, but in respect of labor and overhead, 3,000 units were processed. So, labor and overhead. See, there are two ways I have discussed previously also. या तो इस cost का percentage निकालिए और फिर 4,000 units से multiply कीजिए, या directly, as I have mentioned also that I do recommend this method only, directly take the equivalent number of units, that is 3,000 and 3,000 into the cost, that is 1 and 1. So there are two approaches to calculate the cost, but yes, I do suggest this approach because it is easy and it will take less time and there are hardly any chances of mistake. So when talking about opening work in progress, इतना काम जो हमने पिछले साल खत्म किया, and this much work, the cost of the work for the cost of the work that is done during the current year, it is 6,000. So when talking about the cost of these 4,000 units, 8,000 unit is the cost that is incurred during the previous year and 6,000 is the cost that is incurred during the current year. So work in progress का कहानी खत्म हो गया. Now these 4,000 units are 100% processed and the cost is 14,000. Now these 10,000 units were from the inputs that are made during the year. So we can say units started and completed. How many units? For material, labor, everything is 10,000. So 10,000 units into 3.6, the total cost. So this will be 36,000. So I think this will be 50,000. So this is the value of units that are transferred. I'll be discussing this part, Samohini, when how to deal with abnormal gain or abnormal loss or normal loss. Don't worry. So we are done with the calculation of the cost of units that are transferred. Now let's value closing work in progress. When talking about the work that is completed during the year in respect of material, the equivalent number of units are 6,000 into 1.6. For labor and overheads, it's only 2,000. So this is the cost of work, closing work in progress, 6,000 into 1.6, 2,000 into 1, 2,000 into 1. So 13,600. So 13,600 and 50,000. And our total is 63,600. So this is the way you have to solve the question if PIPO method is given. Yes, it's a bit lengthy, but not tricky. If you solve 2-3 questions, you'll find it very easy and very interesting also. So I request you guys to please copy this part. Don't take the screenshot. Further, after writing the solution, do write your comments in your notebook that what you have understood. And as I have mentioned previously also, what you will write, you will remember it forever. You can't check the recorded session every time. So just write your comments in the notebook that this is what I have understood from the class and this is what sir taught. Make it a habit in every subject to write your comments in your notebook that what you have understood. So I request you guys to please copy this part. Further, those who have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Giving you 5 to 7 minutes time to copy everything. Mahalakshmi, I hope you are thorough with this concept, FIFO method. Any doubts, Mahalakshmi? Yes, any doubts? I'll be discussing weighted average method also, don't worry. Samohini, see, sir, work completed in the previous year indicates the entire total of material. See, herein it is given in the question that for these 4,000 units, the work that is already completed, that is, when talking about material, 100% material was already processed. And when talking about labor and overhead, it is processed up to 75%. So the balance work that is, sorry, 25% was the work done, was the work that is done in the previous year. So when talking about material, nothing was done during the year. And when talking about labor and overhead, 75% work was done during the year. So similarly, we can say for next year, or for next month in this question, when talking about the work that is completed in respect of opening work in progress, it will be 60. I mean, the balance work, that is 2/3 of the work will be done in the next month. Yes, Priyanshi, Nikhil, any doubts? Neeraj, Kaushik, Ananya, Harshita, any doubts? I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Priyanshi, talk, any doubts? Booma, any doubts? If any one of you guys want me to explain this method again, I can do it. If you want me to explain this method again, I can do it. I just want each and every student of mine to be thorough with the concepts. Again, costing is all what about concepts. Don't try to ratify. Everything is concept. Again, these formats are not defined. I'm just generally applying the general principle and writing the solution. Yes, Booma, well said. Everything is perfect. So let's summarize. Requested by Miss Dharani. So see, when talking about the statement of equivalent production, we are following FIFO method. FIFO method says first in, first out. So when talking about the units that are transferred, 14,000 units are transferred. So 4,000 will be from opening work in progress. 10,000 will be from the inputs that are made during the year. So 4,000 units में कितना काम हम लोगों ने इस साल किया? See, 100% work was already done in the previous year. 25% work was done in respect of material and labor in the previous year. So when talking about the work that is completed during the year, it is 75%. So opening work in progress is clear. Now the balance 10,000 units are transferred from the inputs, और वो fresh inputs से. It means 100% work is done during the year, because when talking about the unit transferred, they are 100% processed. So 10,000 units were 100% processed in respect of material and 100% in respect of labor and overhead. So this is all what about the units that are transferred. Now, when talking about closing work in progress, we have 6,000 units. और ये 6,000 units कहाँ से हैं? From the inputs that are made during the year, the fresh inputs. So the work completed represents the work that is done during the year. So 6,000 units, 100% work was completed during the year for 6,000 units. And for material, labor and overheads, it is only 1/3 of work, that is 2,000 units. So this is how we got this equivalent number of units. Now, once equivalent number of units are calculated, what we do, as I have discussed in the previous session, we calculate the cost per unit. So, again, this statement represents what? The work that is completed during the year. That is, इस साल जो काम किया, वो ये statement represent करता है. These units are what? The work that is completed during the year. So, to calculate the cost per unit, we will take the cost that is incurred during the year. So the cost incurred during the year for material, it is 25,600 divided by 16,000. For labor, it is 15,000 divided by 15,000. Overheads, it is 15,000 divided by 15,000. So this is how I got the total cost, that is 3.6. Now, once the total cost is calculated, let's distribute the cost. अब सीधा सा एकदम सिंपल सा हिसाब किताब है. Think practically. If it is your business, what you will do? See, when talking about the units transferred, 4,000 were from opening work in progress. अब ये 4,000 यूनिट्स पे पिछले साल कितना खर्चा हुआ था? 8,000. इस साल कितना खर्चा हुआ? Nothing in respect of material, but labor and overheads, yes, equivalent number of units are 3,000 and 3,000, and the cost per unit is 1 and 1. So 6,000. So पिछले साल खर्चा हुआ था 8,000, इस साल खर्चा हुआ था 6,000. Total cost of opening work in progress is 14,000. Further, when talking about the 10,000 units, the entire work was done during the year, so the cost is 36,000. So this is how we have got the cost of units transferred, and accordingly we have calculated the value of closing work in progress, that is 6,000 into 1.6 and 2,000 into 1 and 1. So I hope it is clear to all now. Ms. Dharani, I hope you are feeling better now. Priyanshi, Samohini, any doubts? Bharat, Mr. Mujahid, Mr. Dev Kumar. Yes, Samohini. Okay, so we are done with this concept now. So let's discuss this question as per weighted average method now. Now, as compared to the FIFO method, weighted average method is very easy. See, the name itself says weighted average. That is the weighted average cost of what? Opening work in progress and the cost that is incurred during the year. So straight away, we'll be taking the weighted average cost only. So we need the total units. So when talking about units transferred, how many units were transferred? 14,000. They were 100% process, so 14,000. 100% process, so 14,000. When talking about the closing work in progress, it is 6,000. How much work is done during the year? 100%, 6,000. So this will be 20,000 and this will be 16,000. Now, the difference between the FIFO and weighted average is what? See, in statement of equivalent production, FIFO represents what? The work that is completed during the year. But in this statement, that is statement of equivalent production in respect of weighted average method, this statement represents the work done in the previous year and the current year. ये स्टेटमेंट क्या रिप्रेजेंट करता है? टोटल काम कितना हुआ है इन द प्रीवियस ईयर एंड द करंट ईयर. So we have got the equivalent number of units. So now, when talking about the calculation of cost for each element, see, when talking about material cost, again, see, इसमें equivalent number of units किसके हैं? The work that is done during the previous year and the work that is done during the current year. So, when talking about the cost also, we will take the cost of the previous year and the current year. इसमें units भी हमने total लिए हैं. That is पिछले साल जो काम किया उसके भी units लिए और इस साल जो काम किया उसके भी units लिए. So when talking about while calculating the cost per unit, we will take the total cost. That is the cost of the previous year plus the cost of the current year divided by the units of the previous year plus the units of the current year. This is what we call as the weighted average method. So herein, so when talking about material, the current year cost is 25,600 and the previous year cost is how much in respect of material? It is 6,000. Whole divided by 20,000. When talking about labor also, again the current year cost is 15,000 plus 1,000. So 16,000. Overheads also the same, 15,000 plus 1,000 divided by 16. So this will be 1, this will be 1, and this will be 1.58. Now let's prepare the statement showing apportionment of cost. Straight away, 14,000 units were transferred, 100% processed. Since we have taken the total cost in this 3.58, so straight away 14,000 units were transferred and the cost is 3.58. That is 50,120. And for closing work in progress, again see, for material, $6,000, $2,000 and $2,000. So this will be 13,480. So the cost will be distributed as 50, 120 and 13,480. So if you guys have any doubts, this is all what about weighted average method. FIFO cost, FIFO method में हम लोग cost separately लेते थे for opening work in progress and for the cost that is incurred during the year. But when talking about the weighted average method, the name itself says weighted average. So we take the weighted average cost per unit and accordingly we calculate or distribute the total cost. I request you guys to please copy again the solution and plus do write your comments that what you have understood and what is the difference between FIFO and weighted average method. The words what I'm using or I'm dictating, do write in your notebook in your own language. So, okay, at the time of revising, you will recollect that, okay, this is what the difference Sir taught during the session. That is the difference between FIFO and weighted average method. So giving you 3 to 4 minutes time to copy this explanation. Giving you 3 to 4 minutes time. I request you guys to please copy the explanation. Just try to understand what I'm teaching. What's the difference between FIFO method or weighted average method? So giving you 3 to 4 minutes time, please copy. See, Mahalakshmi, see, when talking about this statement, this statement represents what? See, I have written the explanation also that this statement represents the work that is done in the previous year and current year. So, 75% was work that is done in the previous year and 25% of the work that is done during the current year. So, that's why I am taking 100%. See, yes, we do take 100%, but you should be clear or thorough that why we are taking 100%. See, guys, I hope you guys have copied this part. Let me explain this statement in a different way for better understanding. See, when talking about if the examiner do ask you to prepare weighted average method, you have to prepare this statement. Just for your understanding or for your better understanding of the concept, I'm preparing this statement for your reference so that you guys can understand it in a better way. See, guys, when talking about FIFO, what I did in FIFO, this is just for your understanding. Don't do this in exams. This is just for your understanding. What I have done in FIFO, very simple. Units transferred from opening work in progress, it was 4,000 units, and nothing was done in respect of material, and 25% work was done in respect of labor and overheads. So this was 1000. Further, when talking about units started and completed were 10,000 units that were 100% process. So 10,000 here, 100%, and 10,000 here. So this is all what about units transferred. Now, for closing work in progress, that was 6,000 units. Sorry, it is given units in process on 75% work was done during the year. Sorry. This is what we prepared in FIFO. So 25% work was done in the previous year and 75% was done in the current year. So this is what we took in FIFO 3000. Now, when talking about closing work in progress, 100% was work was done in respect of material. So this was 6,000 and 33 1 by 3% represents the work that is done during the year. Again, this will be 2,000. So this was the statement what we prepared as per FIFO. Correct? Anyone having any doubts, guys? So this was the statement what we prepared as per FIFO. Now, till here, it represents what? Till here, it represents what? The work done during the year. The work done during the year. Till here, it represents the work that is done during the year. That is 4,000 units were balance processed in respect of material and overhead 75%. These units were 100% processed during the year. These 6,000 units were 100% processed in respect of material and 33.33% in respect of labor. This much work is done during the year. Now, if we add the work that is done in the previous year, we will get the total work done. So, when talking about the balance work of opening work in progress, the work that is done in the previous year is how much? See, nothing was processed in the current year in respect of material. That is, the work that is done in the previous year is how much? 4,000. And in respect of material and labor, it is 1,000. So this represents what? The work done in the previous year. This is the work done in the current year. This is the work done in the previous year. So when talking about the total work done, it is 20,000 units, 13, 14, 15 and 16,000. So now this statement is converted from FIFO to weighted average. So FIFO में अगर simply आप add कर देंगे, क्या add कर देंगे? The work that is done in the previous year, it will be converted into weighted average. I hope now, Mahalakshmi, after this, it is clear that, see, herein also, since we are taking the work done during the year plus the work done in the previous year, so that's why when talking about the cost also, the cost of the current year and the cost of the previous year. So these units are what? The units of the previous year plus the current year. Similarly, the cost of the current year plus the previous year. I hope it is clear now, Mahalakshmi. See, this is just for your understanding. Don't try to do it in exams. Simply write the solution. That is the solution what I have taught previously. Very good, Prem Kumar now. Anyone else with any doubts? See, cost हमने current और previous year का लिया है, तो units भी हमने current year के और previous year के लिए हैं. Anyone else having any doubts? This is just for your understanding, guys. See, it is 6,000 into 33.333. You will get 2,000. Those who want to copy this part also can please copy along with the explanation. Nikhil, any doubts? I request again to copy this part along with these charts so you will get a better idea that why you are doing this. In costing, if anything is written, then you should, the first question is, okay, I'm doing it, but why I'm doing this? This should be the question. So herein, focus on concepts rather than memorizing the formats or statements or formulas. Yes, Samohini, weighted averages method is much more easier as compared to FIFO method because straight away कोई भी bifurcation की जरूरत नहीं है. Straight away units transferred, closing work in progress done. So this is all what about the concept of work in progress when the question is basic, wherein no normal loss, or abnormal gain is given. Now, what if in case when work in progress is also given and normal loss, or abnormal gain is also given in the question? One second, guys. So how to deal with normal loss, or abnormal gain? So 3 points, guys. How to deal with abnormal loss, normal loss, and abnormal gain in statement of equivalent production. As I said, in normal loss, the product cost is inflated. So no need to consider normal loss in statement of equivalent production. So ignore normal loss while preparing statement of equivalent production. Ignore normal loss while preparing statement of equivalent production. Further, the amount of scrap value that is realized on sale of normal loss will be deducted from the material cost while calculating the cost per unit. Very important, guys. Scrap value realized on sale of normal loss will be deducted from material cost while calculating cost per unit. This point is the key. Always remember this. So in short, जो भी scrap value आती है on sale of normal loss. See, herein we calculate cost per unit. So cost per unit जब आप calculate करते हैं, जो material cost होता है उसमें से scrap value less कर दीजिए, divided by equivalent number of units, you will get the cost per unit of material, and labor and overheads there will be no change. So when talking about normal loss, ignore normal loss while preparing statement of equivalent production. Second point, scrap value realized on sale of normal loss will be deducted from the material cost while calculating cost per unit. When talking about the abnormal loss, see, very important, guys. Yes, we have to consider abnormal loss in statement of equivalent production. Further, the percentage of completion of abnormal loss will always be given in the question. So, we do consider abnormal loss in the statement. Further, percentage of completion will be given in the question. So just like units transferred, closing work in progress, we have to consider abnormal loss also, and the percentage of completion of abnormal loss will always be given in the question. When talking about abnormal gain also, yes, we do consider. Further, always assume as 100% complete. So abnormal loss के related instruction will be given in the question that this much is the percentage of completion. However, when talking about abnormal gain, always assume that they are 100% processed. So these are the treatments of normal loss, abnormal loss, and abnormal gain. I'll be discussing this practically with the help of a question also. So I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Anyone with any doubts or queries? So I'm done with the explanation. Now see guys, an important announcement. ICAI is conducting a webinar on 25th of April for all the students. This webinar is to guide you guys how to prepare your exams, how to prepare for your exams, how to approach the questions, how to go ahead with your studies. So make sure you guys do attend this webinar. This is for you guys only, for your benefit, and to make you guys, understand, how to approach your studies and all. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back after 15 minutes, and we will discuss one more question wherein we'll be discussing the treatment of normal loss and abnormal loss. So let's take a break of 15 minutes, guys. Admin sir? Admin sir, are you there? Admin sir, are you there? ओके सर वो वीडियो प्ले होगा ना अभी? हाँ हाँ, आप स्टार्ट कर दीजिए वीडियो। आई थिंक मेरे को जैसे वो कल बात हुई थी मयंक सर से, तो उन्होंने बोला था कि ड्यूरिंग द ब्रेक ये वीडियो चालू चालू रहेगा। हाँ, आप देख लीजिए अपने हिसाब से। लेट्स मीट आफ्टर 15 मिनट्स। friends. Dr. CM Gupta from ICAI is here to guide you guys about process costing. So, sir, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bipin, and welcome all the students. This is Dr. N.N. Sen Gupta from Board of Studies of the Institute. So two things basically, I take this opportunity to interact with you. First of all is that tomorrow, that is on 25th April, our leadership, the president, vice president, the chairman BOS, as well as the vice chairman BOS will be interacting with you all from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And a link is already given in the advertisement. It is there in the BOS knowledge portal. So I will request all the students to kindly join that program and to take the advantage of directly interacting with the leadership. What is their thought process, how you can manage the examination, the stress level, and various other aspects. And I can tell it to you that already a very good response we have got. A lot of students has registered. So you can also register yourself and get the full benefit out of it and interact with the top management of the institute. There are certain technical queries also has been sent, and I'm sure that you will be able to get through those queries as well. So this is once again 25th April, that is tomorrow from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. You can join via the link which is already given. Okay. And this is first part. Now, sir is already teaching you regarding the process and operation costing. Couple of things very quickly I would like to share with you. Number one, that how the treatment of losses and gain will be there in process costing. Please keep an eye on that. I'm sure that Bipin sir has touched that point. That when there is a normal loss, normal process loss, the cost of normal process loss is absorbed by the good unit, with like it is done in other cases also. And the amount which is realized by the sale of normal process loss unit. So if there is some unit which is lost through the normal process, that should be credited to the process account. So that is number one. Now there can be abnormal process loss. So when you are talking about abnormal process loss, then the total cost of abnormal process loss is credited to the process account from which it arises. So you have to see that from which process it has arises, and the total cost of abnormal process loss is debited to costing PL, like it does. So normal loss to be borne by good unit produced, abnormal loss to be charged or to be debited to costing PL. Now there can be abnormal gain also, and there can be question where abnormal loss is there and in some process abnormal gain is there. Okay, so those type of questions also you need to practice. And when there is abnormal gain, the process account under which the abnormal gain arises is debited with the abnormal gain and credited to the abnormal gain account. You will be opening an abnormal gain account as well. Okay, and which will be closed. Whatever will be the balance, जो भी balance होगा abnormal gain का, that will be transferred to costing PL. So बहुत careful रहना है इन तीनों चीजों के treatment के बारे में. और बिपिन सर ने बताया इक्विवेलेंट प्रोडक्शन यूनिट्स कैसे कैलकुलेट करना है. ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है. एक्चुअल नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स जो होता है डिवाइडेड मल्टीप्लाइड बाय जो परसेंटेज होता है आपका वर्क कंप्लीटेड का, उसको मल्टीप्लाई करने के बाद उसको करते हैं. नाउ रिगार्डिंग एग्जामिनेशन वेरी क्विकली, वैल्यूएशन जो है ना वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस का, देयर आर टू टेक्निक व्हिच इज देयर. वन इज FIFO, वन इज द weighted average. So LIFO के क्वेश्चन है स्टडी मटेरियल में, बट LIFO नॉर्मली AS2 एंड इंड AS2 अलाउ नहीं करते हैं, तो LIFO उस हिसाब से तो नहीं है, लेकिन नॉलेज पर्पस के लिए आपको पता होना चाहिए. सो FIFO एंड वेटेड एवरेज के बेसिस पे जो वैल्यूएशन ऑफ WIP है उसको देखिए. और एक जगह में प्रॉब्लम आप लोगों का होता है जब इंटर प्रोसेस प्रॉफिट होता है. इंटर प्रोसेस प्रॉफिट के जो आपका कैलकुलेशन है या जो डिफरेंस आप निकालते हो कॉस्ट एंड ट्रांसफर प्राइस, उसको हम इंटर प्रोसेस प्रॉफिट बोलते हैं, उसका भी थोड़ा सा आपको अच्छे तरीके से देखना है. एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, वेरी ब्रीफली, कैलकुलेशन ऑफ इक्विवेलेंट यूनिट आपको देखना है अंडर डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टेक्निक. वैल्यूएशन ऑफ WIP एंड फिनिश गुड्स देखना है अंडर डिफरेंट टेक्निक. प्रिपरेशन ऑफ प्रोसेस अकाउंट आपको देखना है अलग तरीके से. ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ नॉर्मल लॉस एंड एबनॉर्मल गेन मैंने अभी बोला आपको. कैलकुलेशन ऑफ इंटर प्रोसेस प्रॉफिट, ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है. और एक एक टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, आई थिंक बिपिन सर ऑल्सो विल रिमेंबर दैट कभी कभी क्या होता है, क्वेश्चन बेस्ड ऑन प्रोसेस कॉस्टिंग रिक्वायर कैलकुलेशन ऑफ वेस्टेज in particular process account giving the rate at which the amount is transferred to the next process. यानी कि उसमें क्या होता है, स्टूडेंट्स आर अनेबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि किस तरीके से करना है, बिकॉज उसमें रिवर्स कैलकुलेशन होता है. तो रिवर्स कैलकुलेशन का जो क्वेश्चन है ना, मैं बिपिन सर को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा ये रिवर्स कैलकुलेशन का एक क्वेश्चन आप असाइनमेंट में भी इंक्लूड करिएगा. एंड आई थिंक 2-3 टर्म्स पहले, या मे बी मोर देन दैट, देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन इन द प्रोबब्ली अर्लियर सिलेबस जहां पर रिवर्स कैलकुलेशन आपको करना है, और हमने बहुत पुअर परफॉर्मेंस देखा था उस क्वेश्चन में स्टूडेंट्स का. तो ये रिवर्स कैलकुलेशन आपको बिल्कुल आना चाहिए. आसान क्वेश्चन है, कोई डिफिकल्ट नहीं है, लेकिन इफ यू डू नॉट नो एग्जैक्टली हाउ टू डील विद इट, यू मे नॉट बी एबल टू डू इट इन द एग्जामिनेशन कंडीशन. सो प्रोसेस में the philosophy is process is actually very easy, it's not difficult at all. एक कंसेप्ट आपको समझना है, सर आपको समझा रहे हैं, और दूसरा वैरायटीज ऑफ क्वेश्चन आपको प्रैक्टिस करना है. बिकॉज सिमिलर टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन, ट्रीटमेंट कुछ भी हो, अगर सिमिलर टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आपको मिल जाए विद द सेम कंसेप्ट, it will be very easy for you to deal with that in the real examination condition. So now these are some of the things which I thought. और प्रॉपर अकाउंट दिखाना है आपको. अगर 3 प्रोसेस बोला है, 3 प्रोसेस दिखाइए. कभी कभी आपको एबनॉर्मल लॉस एबनॉर्मल गेन की अकाउंट उस तरीके से नहीं दिखाने के लिए बोलेंगे, आप छोड़ दीजिए. स्टेटमेंट ऑफ इक्विवेलेंट प्रोडक्शन आप दिखाइए. तो आप देखिएगा कहाँ कहाँ आप उसमें टाइम बचा सकते हैं, क्योंकि थोड़े से लेंदी तो होते हैं, बिकॉज अकाउंट करके आपको करना होता है. तो वर्किंग्स, जो नेसेसरी वर्किंग्स है, that you have to show in this process account. Otherwise I feel it's a very scoring topic, and you will be sir ne bahut अच्छे से आपको concept सारे बताया है, and you will be able to do it. Any kind of query, any kind of question you have, you kindly come back to us. So that's all from my side, and once again thank you Mr. Bipin for interacting with the students and explaining their concept very nicely. And I hope the students are able to benefit, and you may kindly continue.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So, and your guidance, sir. So, as sir mentioned, there is a question on reverse calculation. So, I'll be giving you guys this question in the assignment. It's nothing but a pure mathematics. If you are thorough with the concepts of process costing, and if you are simply, if you understand mathematics, you can easily solve the questions on reverse calculation. But yes, if you guys have not solved the question and all of a sudden it appears in exams, then sometimes no, even though you guys will be able, but वो जो examination का pressure होता है उसमें कई बार students solve नहीं कर पाते. So I'll be giving you that question in the assignment also. Try to solve it. Else I am there. I mean, you can write a mail to ICAI, that is CMA-enter@ICAI.in. Addressing my name. Don't worry, I'll be addressing all your queries. So guys, now it's already 8:41, so it's 8:43. Let's start with the last question, wherein we have to discuss that how to deal with normal loss, or abnormal gain in statement of equivalent production and calculation of cost per unit. So I request you guys to please open question number 6. Example number 6, equivalent advance question. I request you guys to please open example number 6, equivalent advance question. Herein we'll be covering this point of normal loss and abnormal loss in this question. So let's start. Following details are related to the work done in process A of XYZ company during the month of March 2020. where an opening work in progress is 2,000 units and the breakup of the cost is given wherein material cost it is 80,000, labor cost it is 15,000, overheads it is 45,000, material introduced in process A it is 38,000 and the total cost is 14,80,000. The direct labor cost and overhead cost is also given. So total units scrapped are 3,000 units and the degree of completion is also given. See, as I said, in abnormal loss, the percentage of completion in respect of the abnormal loss units will always be given in the question. So the degree of completion of the units that are scrapped is given, that is 100% in respect of material and 80% in respect of labor and overheads. Further, opening work in progress are 2,000 units as mentioned earlier, and the percentage of completion is also given. In respect of material, it is 100%, and labor and overheads, it is 60%. Closing work in progress is also given, that is 2,000 units, and the degree of completion is given, that is material 100%, labor and overheads 80%. Units finished and transferred to the next process, that is process B, are 35,000 units. Further, normal loss 5% of the total inputs, including opening work in progress. So we have to calculate the normal loss. Scrap value is rupees 20 per piece. You are required to prepare the statement of equivalent production, statement of cost, statement of distribution of cost, process A account, normal loss account, and abnormal loss account. So let's start with this question. Sorry. Let's start with this question now. So again, the first step, we will prepare process account. So opening work in progress, 2,000 units. When talking about the total cost of opening work in progress, it is 45,000 plus 15,000 plus 80,000. So it is 1,40,000. The inputs that are made during the year, it is 38,000 units. 1 second, guys. The inputs that are made during the year, it is 38,000 units. And the total cost is 14,80,000. Thereafter, the labor cost, it is 3,59,000. Overheads cost, that is 10,77,000. So let's start with normal loss. It is given in the question. It is given that normal loss is 5% of the input, 5% of the total inputs, including work in progress. So 38 plus 2, 40,000 into 5%. So this will be 2,000. Further, the scrap value is also given. That is rupees 20 per piece. So this will be total 40,000. Units that are transferred to the next process is also given. 35,000 units. And closing work in progress is also given. Closing work in progress is also given, that is 2,000 units. So total we have 40,000 units as a raw material. And when talking about the output, 2,000 was normal loss, 35,000 was the units that are transferred to the next process, and 2,000 is closing work in progress. So here in 35 plus 4, 39. So 1,000 there is an extra loss. We call it as abnormal loss. Now, the point is we have to calculate these values. When talking about the total cost is 1,40,000 plus 14,80,000 plus 3,59,000 plus 10,77,000. So this is 30,56,000. So ultimately, we have to distribute 30,56 minus this 40,000 among these three. That is abnormal loss, process B, and closing work in progress. So this is the task what we have to do now. So now let's prepare the statement of equivalent production. Now this question can be solved as per FIFO method or weighted average method. See, the question is silent. The question is not mentioning that you have to apply FIFO method or weighted average method. So always remember, guys, if the instructions are given in the question that which method you have to apply, follow the instruction. But always remember, if the question is silent, I advise you guys to follow weighted average method because it is easy and it consumes less time. And there are hardly any chances of error in weighted average method. फीफो मेथड में कई बार स्टूडेंट्स गलती कर सकते हैं बट देयर आर हार्डली एनी चांसेस फॉर मिस्टेक इन वेटेड एवरेज मेथड सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर गाइस इफ द क्वेश्चन इज साइलेंट always apply weighted average method because it is comparatively easier than FIFO method. I have discussed FIFO and weighted average both, but yes, if the question is silent, apply weighted average method. So we can solve this question as per both the methods, but yes, I am solving this question as per weighted average method. So particulars, in the same way we will prepare total material So let's start. Yes, Priyanshi. Prem Kumar, let me check. See, Prem Kumar, closing work in progress is 2000 only. Please read the question carefully, my dear. Now let's start with this part now. So let's start with units transferred. Units transferred are how much? 35,000 units. 100% processed. So 35,000. 100% processed. So 35,000. So this part is over now. Now next, let's start with abnormal loss also. Abnormal loss is of 1,000 units. And when talking about the percentage of completion, see, units scrap total are 3,000. See, 3,000 means what? 2,000 of normal loss and 1,000 of abnormal loss. Total 3,000 units are scrapped, and the degree of completion is also given 100% for material and 80% for labor and overheads. So we are done with this part also, that is abnormal loss. Now last is closing work in progress. Closing work in progress is 2,000 units. Again, the degree of completion is given in the question. See, 2,000 units, the degree of completion is 100% and 80%. So 100%, 2,000, 80%, 1,600. So done with this statement. So 36 plus 2, 38,000. And this will be 37,400. So done with the statement of equivalent production now. Now next is calculation of cost per unit. So let's start with the material cost. As I said, this statement represents what? In weighted average method, the statement of equivalent production represents what? The work that is completed during the current year and in the previous year. So here, when talking about, while calculating cost per unit also, we will take the current year cost and the previous year cost. So when talking about the current year cost, the material cost is 14,80,000 plus the previous year cost. Where is the previous year cost? Okay, previous year cost, it is 80,000. Now guys, very important. Maximum students यहाँ पे mistake करते हैं. Very important. This scrap value is to be deducted from here. Marking it as triple star, guys. Do mark this in your notebook also. Most of the students forget to deduct the scrap value that is realized on normal loss. So deduct this 40,000 whole divided by my equivalent number of units, that is 38,000. So we'll get the cost per unit as 40 rupees. When talking about labor cost, again, The cost that is incurred during the year, that is 3,59,000, plus the cost incurred in the previous year, that is 15,000, whole divided by equivalent number of units, that is 37,400. So this is rupees 10. So next is overheads. Again, the cost incurred during the year, that is 10,77,000. The cost incurred in the previous year, that is 45,000, divided by same 37,400. So we are done with the calculation of cost per unit. So now statement showing so we have got the cost per unit. Now we will distribute the cost. Again, there is no format here. Just keep the thing simple. See, ultimately our motto is what? To calculate these three values. So for this, we have prepared statement of equivalent production. Thereafter, we have prepared that statement wherein we are calculating cost per unit. And last statement showing apportionment of cost. So let's start with units transferred first. So units transferred are 35,000 and they are 100% processed. So 35,000 into 80. So this will be 28 lakh. Thereafter, abnormal loss. So abnormal loss 1,000 units in respect of material, and labor and overheads, it is 800 and 800 into 40, 10 and 30. Sorry. This will be 72,000. Next is closing work in progress. Again, same material, labor, and overhead. So this is 2,000, 1,600. So this is 28 lakh. This is 72,000. And this is 1,44,000. This will be 30,16,000. Sorry, 30,56,000. So again, the chapter, as sir said, it's very easy. The point is you should focus on the concepts. Each and every concept I have discussed in detail, be it normal loss, abnormal gain. So ultimately, you have to stick to the concepts and then solve the question. Again, the practice is the key. The more you will practice, the better you will be with the concept. See, in the previous question I discussed, see, many students were having, I mean, few students were having doubts, but now I think in this question, I think, I mean, no one is having any doubts. Still, if you have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Again, the practice is the key. So try to solve as many as possible questions in writing. Avoid ticking in the notes or books or whatever it is. Try to write your own solution. See, you will get two things if you write your solution. First thing is the speed. Most of the students face this problem that they are not being able to complete the paper on time because of lack of speed. So if you will start writing the solutions of the question, then again you will develop speed. Second thing is better clarity of concept. You will be more you'll be better with the concepts. So the more you will write, the better you will be with the concepts, and again the speed will improve or increase. So that is the key. So focus on the concept. Try to solve as many as possible questions in writing. Questions are available over the portal, wherein the study material, the past practice manual, the past examination questions, RTPs, MTPs, wide variety of questions are available. Try to solve each and every question in writing. You have sufficient time. I assure you, if you are thorough with the concept and you practice all the question, no one can stop you from scoring good marks, in fact, distinction in cost and management accounting. So this is the solution. I request you guys to write the solution. If you have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Rohan Sahu, please check the question. Giving you 4 to 5 minutes time to copy everything, plus do write your comments, do prepare your notes. In the meanwhile, those who have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Waiting for your queries. Giving you 5 minutes time to copy everything. Rohan Sao C, when talking about opening work in progress check, it is material, labor, and overheads 80,000, 15,000, and 45,000. So the total cost is 1,40,000. Rohan, please check. Yes, Rohan, I hope it is clear now. Anyone having any doubts? Priyanshi, Booma, Rohan, Sunil, Neeraj, Ms. Dharani, I hope you are thorough with the concepts. Mahalakshmi. Now, see, this question we have solved as per weighted average method. Let's solve this question as per FIFO method for better understanding of the concept of FIFO. See, as I said, Rohan, when talking about normal loss, very important, the value of normal loss is absorbed by good units. So that's why I have not considered normal loss in statement of equivalent production. I have not considered the normal loss in statement of equivalent production. So it's by default deducted only, my dear. Yes, well said, Priyanshi. The point is the concepts are the key, and yes, you have to follow the steps. So let's start with the statement of equivalent production as per FIFO method. See, total 35,000 units were transferred and 2,000 units were from opening work in progress, and remaining 33,000 will be from the inputs that are made during the year. So let's start with units transferred first. So when talking about opening work in progress, the number of units are 2,000. So can you guys tell me? So I just want answers from every one of you. Can you guys tell me what will be the number of units for material and labor and overheads? Waiting for your answers, guys. Quick. Let's see who answers first. Can you guys tell me what will be the equivalent number of units for material and labor and overheads for opening work in progress? Yes, everyone, waiting for your answers. Prem Kumar, I've got answer from Prem Kumar. And Mr. Prem Kumar, it is incorrect. Again, very important, guys. I'm asking what will be the equivalent number of units for material and labor and overheads in this statement. We are following FIFO method. Okay, so Prem Kumar, incorrect answer. Rohan Sahu, incorrect answer. Now Prem Kumar, it is correct. Very good, Prem Kumar. Rest all waiting for your answers. Almas, Ananya, Mahalakshmi, Rohan, please recheck your answer. Very good, Almas. Your answer is correct now. Yes, Miss Dharani, Kirti, Mahalakshmi, Bharat, Jayendra, Mr. Mujahid, Prem Kumar, Priyanshi, Ananya, Miss Sanju, A. Kiran, Kaushik Patra. Waiting for your answers, guys. I want you guys to actively participate in the session. What will be the equivalent number of units in respect of material and labor and overheads? Mahalakshmi, it is incorrect. Sunil Kumar, I'm just talking about opening work in progress. That's it. I'm just talking about opening work in progress, not the total material and labor and overheads. Only the opening work in progress. Almas, your answer is correct. Prem Kumar, your answer is correct. Rest all waiting for your answers. Ananya, let me check. I think it is incorrect, my dear. See, very simple, guys. The percentage of completion of opening work in progress is given in the question, that it is 100% processed in respect of material and 60% work is already done in the previous year. So this statement represents the work done during the year. So herein, material, it is already 100% processed in the previous year. For labor, 60% work is already completed in the previous year. So balance 40% work will be completed in the current year. So this will be 800. Next is units started and completed. How many units started and completed? 33,000. So 100% processed, 33,000. 100% processed, 33,000. Thereafter, abnormal loss, it is of 1,000 units. And the percentage of completion for the units that are scrapped, it is 100% and 80%. So 100%, 1,000 and 80%, 800. For closing work in progress, it is 2,000 units. So this will be 36,000. This will be 36,200. Anyone having any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Now it is correct, Ananya. Priyanshi, please recheck. I hope it is clear to all. Very good, Ananya. Now it is correct. Prem Kumar, correct. Sunil Kumar, please recheck your answer. Now let's prepare the calculation of cost per unit. Now these units represents what? The work that is completed in the current year. So herein we will be taking the current year cost only. That is for material. It will be 14,80,000 minus 40,000 as the scrap value. whole divided by 36,000. Similarly, for labor, it will be 3,59,000 divided by 36,200. For overheads also, it is 10,77,000 divided by 36,200. This will be 9.92. This will be 29.75. This will be 79.67. So let's prepare the statement showing distribution of cost. When talking about units transferred, see, opening work in progress. The cost of the previous year is 1,40,000. Work completed for opening work in progress in the current year in respect of labor and overheads it is 800 and 800 into 9.92 plus 29.75. So this will be 31,736. Thereafter, units started and completed. Total 33,000 units were started and completed, and they were 100% processed. So the cost is 79.67. So this will be 26 lakh 29,110. So the total cost will be 28,00,846. So this is how you have to solve FIFO method. Further, the calculation of abnormal loss and closing work in progress is simple, wherein simply 1,000 into 40 and 800 into these two. And for closing work in progress, 2,000 into 40 and 1,600 into these two. I'm just writing the answer directly. So this will be 71,736. So this is the way you guys have to solve the question. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your query. The major headache is what? To calculate these three values. So that's why we are doing all this exercise. So I'm done with process costing. I tried my best to cover each and every point in detail conceptually. And yes, I've discussed practical questions of each and every point. Still, you have any sort of queries, whatever the queries you have, whatever running in your mind for process costing, you guys can please post your queries. I'm there to address your queries. Further, I request you guys to actively participate in the session. Those who have joined over YouTube, again, try to join it over Zoom. Whatever running in your mind, whatever the queries you have, you guys can speak up, you guys can post via messages also. These sessions are conducted by ICAI for you guys only. So just try to attend the sessions through Zoom. You can ask your queries, you can ask, you can directly interact with me also. So try to join via Zoom instead of watching it over YouTube. That is advisable. And in the meanwhile, still, if you have any doubts or you guys want to ask me anything, you can post your queries on cma-inter@icai.in, addressing my name. I'll be personally taking care of all of your queries. Further, a tip from my side, as I said, try to solve as many as possible questions in writing. There is no alternate for hard work. Focus on the concepts. Costing is all what about concepts. There are no formulas in cost accounting. It's all the concepts that we are using to solve the questions. And again, you have to practice a lot. So whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post your queries, giving you 3 to 4 minutes time to copy everything. And in the meanwhile, those who have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. It's the rounding of difference, Neeraj Patel. That's okay. You can keep the balancing figure as abnormal loss. Anyone else with any doubts? Rohan Sao will try to conduct a query session and will try to address your query, Rohan. We'll try to conduct a query session and will address your query. Waiting for your queries. Yes, Mr. Kaushik. Yes, Priyanshi. So, guys, thank you so much for your time and patience and for active participation in the session. We'll be meeting up after a break because I'll be I'll be taking the remaining chapter from service costing. So we'll be meeting up after a break. In the meanwhile, whatever the chapters I have discussed, try to solve questions in writing. Further, if you have doubts or queries relating to the chapters I have discussed during that break, you can mail me. I'll be addressing all your queries. So till then, take care of yourself, work hard, practice. Practice is the key. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Vipin.
Thank you,
And
sir.
thank you all the students for any kind of query. Always you can come back to us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Before
you, sir.
concluding, we have to play once a video.
Yes, sir. Please, please, please. Thank you so much, Ajit, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Take care, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.